Hello and welcome to Skipped History. I'm joined today by Jon Meacham. What a fabulous moment this is, for me at least. Jon is do you mind if I call you Jon, by the way? Would you like to?
Please,
Okay.
please.
Jon is a New York Times best-selling Pulitzer Prize-winning biographer. He holds the Carolyn T. and Robert M. Rogers Chair at Vanderbilt University and is a fellow at the Society of American Historians. Jon has written several acclaimed biographies. I'm sure people reading, listening, watching this are familiar with many of them. And most recently, he's the author of American Struggle, Democracy, Dissent, and the Pursuit of a More Perfect Union, an anthology. Jon, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Fabulous. Where are you?
I think.
right. It's all downhill.
We'll see.
It's all downhill. Yeah. Don't speak too soon. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right. Hence, that's what they mean by the chair at Vanderbilt University, I assume. So
That's right.
Today, this book is really it's a welcome push, I would say, in examining some of the bright spots and the dark spots in our history and finding a balance between those things. And also, I think, as we'll get into and you argue in the book, pushing us to continue to try to perfect our union, to continue this very fragile experiment. And the documents in the book, with your reflections surrounding them, do push the reader to reflect on how far we have come and how far we still have to go, I think it's fair to say. But progress has been made, and progress is not guaranteed, I think, are also takeaways from your book. So to get into some of those, I want to, I pulled some quotes from your book, and I want to ask you about them just to get more of your reflections. And yeah, it's just such a pleasure to have you here. I can't help but ask you to prod you a little bit more. So you write that America has been defined by the perennial struggle between the appetites of the few and the privileged and the aspirations of the many who have rightly insisted that the nation live up to its self-professed creed of sacred rights and equal justice under law. And you add, as this anthology shows, that struggle is not the work of a day, which I think is a fair point. I will say, I wish you'd add the next sentence where it may not be the work of a day, but it shouldn't take more than a couple weeks. It won't take that long.
Right. Maybe even a whole quarter. Yeah.
Right. Maybe the fiscal year, just strap in, but set your goals and you'll be fine. I wonder if you can talk about that struggle between the few and the privileged and the aspirations of the many, like how you perceive of that and how this comes through for you and how that guided who you chose to put in the book.
Well, the American social contract is one in which we accept a representative government based on divided sovereignty. Those institutions create a rule of law. They maintain a set of customs and norms. And norm is a popular word these days, and it sounds kind of boring, but it's really a catch-all term for a kind of moral commitment to respecting each other. And if that contract is broken, if people believe that they can get ahead, and the only way they can get ahead, the only way they can fulfill their own appetites, ambitions, desires, is by breaking that covenant, then the experiment doesn't work. And the remarkable thing about the United States of America is not that we're experiencing the problems that we are at the moment, but that it took us this long to get to such a crisis point. And look, I am a boringly heterosexual white Southern male Episcopalian, right? Things work out for me in this country.
I don't find you so boring, but I'll accept
I appreciate
the other characteristics.
You don't know me well.
That's true.
But
very true.
The point of the country is that it's supposed to work out for everybody. And that in many ways, if you step back and look at the story of the struggle, that is, in fact, the through line of the American experiment. It is, we made a mission statement voluntarily, right? Nobody said we had to declare independence based on a notion of innate human equality, whether you believe in it in a theocentric way or a naturalistic way, but we did. We chose to frame our work. We chose as a enveloping, animating principle, one that is an ideal. And as Lincoln said, it was, he said of Jefferson, nobody ever had a better friend, by the way. Thomas Jefferson never had a better friend than Abraham Lincoln, right? He elevated the Declaration, both at Gettysburg and throughout the Civil War period. Lincoln said of Jefferson's sentence that it is a standard which will be forever a stumbling block to reappearing tyranny and oppression. And so that's the North Star. That's the point. And the generations that live into the Declaration are the ones that we can learn the most in a positive sense. And the ones that fall away from it or remain in a static relationship to it are the ones that we can learn in what the ancients called a negative exemplum. And so what I wanted to do was, instead of my just blathering on about it, as I'm doing now, I wanted to let the other voices, the voices of the people who had been participants in the arena, in the struggle to create a more perfect union based on this insight from the Declaration, what did they say? How did they see it?
Yeah.
And so the book starts with the summons, in 1619, which has now been sort of drawn into this ideological battle.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the arrival of enslaved people. It was also the first call for representative government. And so right at the beginning, you have the tension, right? We wanted, people like me wanted representative government, but we wanted to be able to enslave people. And so trying to resolve that tension and, in fact, act in a morally coherent way, I think, is the struggle of the country.
Yeah, you're reminding me of a few things for your book. So one is that speaking of this tension, you say that nativism, xenophobia, cultural populism, and broad political fear have shaped the Republic from the beginning, and they always will. And I guess one question is, do they have to? That's number one. But do you see, like circling back to what I first asked you, do you see those currents existing forever because they are effective tools, that they're effective tools for the few that you talk about who are trying to rule over the rest of the country? Or do you see them as inherent in the American experiment in a way? Or do you see...
It's a great question. They're inherent not only in the American experiment, they're inherent in human nature. Right? We've been doing this since the third chapter of Genesis, right? There was a piece of fruit. We were told not to take it. We took it. Mayhem ensued.
Yeah. Speak for yourself, but yeah.
We are fallen, frail, and fallible people.
Yeah.
And so xenophobia, nativism, extremism, all that, they are political tools, but they're political tools because they can tap into forces that reside in the American soul because they reside in the human soul.
Yeah.
And so does it have to be that way? Yeah, it does, because that's where we are. That's who we are.
Yeah.
But I hate it when people say something, President Trump will do something terrible, which means it's, we're all respirating. And people will say, oh, well, that's not who we are. Well, of course it's who we are.
Yeah.
And the task is not to say if we decide that the task is we're not going to let fear ever be part of our politics, then we're going to fail. It's never going to happen. I mean, until the coming of the kingdom, right? Whatever you think the end of time is.
I think it's when the Knicks win the championship, but yeah.
Well, that would do it, right? I think this is the story of the country. I believe in many ways is, at least it's my story. It may not be yours, but
no, please.
I know that if I do the right thing 51% of the time, that's a heck of a good day. And I don't have that many of those, right? So democracy is about the republic is about give and take. But it's a hell of a lot more fun to take than to give. And, there are people who would say, oh, no, that, we're inherently moral creatures. Well, we're inherently moral creatures in that we define ourselves by our relationship to others. That doesn't mean that the relationship to others has to be one of kindness, generosity, and grace.
Yeah.
It can also be a relationship of cruelty, greed, and selfishness.